It's happening now, September 29th, Monday, a day that has been building quietly, showing up in strange dreams, sudden feelings, and little signs you couldn't explain. This is not a normal Monday. This is the night when truth shows itself, when masks fall away, and when you finally see what is real. On this day, you may notice it in the people around you. Words won't match actions. Smiles doesn't feel real anymore. Promises sound empty. Even those you thought you could trust may do something that surprises you. None of this is by chance. These are spiritual tests designed to show you where you've given too much and where you must now stay strong. So stay with me. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, write 9999 in the comments right now, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. September 29th is not an ordinary Monday. Tonight, the moon moves into a position that acts like a spotlight, exposing what has been hidden in shadows. This is the same pathway that ancient astrologers guarded closely, because whenever the moon reached this point, truths were revealed, masks slipped, and choices could no longer be delayed. Some relationships may suddenly feel different tonight. Words that once seemed supportive may now carry a sharp edge. Promises that felt solid could reveal weak spots. Even silence from others may speak louder than their actions. The moon is not creating these shifts. It is showing you what has been there all along, waiting for you to see it clearly. This is why September 29th matters. The moon acts as a mirror, pressing each soul to recognize what has been hidden and to choose the direction that will define the road ahead. Right now, the energy is building into a peak that changes how the next part of life unfolds. At the end of September, the moon event carries a force that clears out what has been blocking progress. Delays, confusion, and half-truths are being swept away, so the real path can finally open. This is not a small shift. It is a moment that decides what moves forward with you and what must be left behind. This change carries karmic weight. Connections that have drained your spirit may come to a close. Agreements made from fear or habit are no longer strong enough to continue. Old ties are breaking because the future cannot be built on them. What is true will remain strong, and what is false will fall apart. These endings are not punishment. They are preparation for the next stage of your journey. Every soul alive right now chose to be here for this turning point. Hearing this message is not chance. It is part of your own plan. Your spirit knew this moment would come and that you would need guidance to walk through it. That is why you are hearing it now. The challenges showing up are not here to break you, but to remind you of the strength that has always been within you. Right now, the world stands in a moment of testing. Many will hold tightly to the old, but those ready to rise will see this as the beginning of their mission. You are not here to play small. You are here to walk with clarity, to hold steady when others lose their way, and to move forward when fear says stop. The end of September is not only a close, it is the opening of your true path. Today, the energy feels heavier than usual because the moon event is stirring what has been buried for far too long. Emotions rise quickly, and even the smallest things may seem to hit harder. This isn't random. It is a release of layers that no longer belong to you. The mind may replay old scenes, not to trap you in the past, but to show what has been carried for too long and is finally ready to move. Tears may come without warning. Anger can surface in moments where calm once lived. Even laughter may feel sharper, as if the body is clearing through every possible outlet. These emotional swings are not weakness. They are signs that the spirit is cleaning house, making space for what cannot share the same ground as the path ahead. The body is also speaking in unusual ways. Rest may be harder to hold on to, as if the inner clock has been reset. Hunger may shift suddenly, sometimes strong, sometimes gone. The skin may prickle, the heartbeat may race, or the body may simply ask for stillness when the world demands movement. Each of these signals is the way energy moves through matter, reminding you that you are not only flesh but also spirit in transformation. For many, memories rise at strange times, almost like flashes of another life. These are not accidents. They are karmic threads untangling. What surfaces now is asking to be acknowledged, understood, and released. The moon event pulls at these threads so you no longer carry the weight of stories that no longer belong to you. Even relationships may reflect this clearing. People may react strongly. Words may cut deeper, or silence may suddenly stretch where closeness once was. Do not take this as rejection. It is a mirror. Energy shifts through the bonds we share, and when your light grows stronger, it exposes what no longer fits. The discomfort is part of the purification. This time can feel lonely, but you are not walking it alone. Across the world, thousands are passing through the same clearing, each one learning to trust the changes rather than resist them. The very symptoms that seem confusing are in truth signs of evolution. They are markers of growth, proof that the body, mind, and spirit are preparing for higher ground. The invitation is simple. Allow the release. Cry if the tears come. Rest when the body asks. Step back when words from others bring heaviness. None of this is weakness. It is the passage through which your strength is discovered. At the heart of this clearing lies a truth. The moon event is not testing you. It is reshaping you. What feels overwhelming today is proof that you are moving into alignment with a self that has waited patiently to emerge. The storm will pass, but the wisdom it leaves behind will remain forever. Today's moon event is not here to entertain the surface. It is designed to pull from the hidden corners of the soul to bring forward the parts that have been ignored. On the 29th of September, this alignment presses the inner world with force, drawing fears and doubts to the surface. Not to punish, but to allow them to be faced, named, and released. The shadow self is not an enemy. It is the mirror of wounds carried across time. It is the anger that was silenced, the sadness that was left unspoken, the truth that never found space to breathe. When the moon stands in this position, the shadow steps forward. The purpose is alchemy, turning weight into wisdom, turning resistance into clarity. Emotions may rise stronger than reason. Old doubts can echo loudly, reminding you of times when trust was broken or strength was questioned. This is the karmic thread being pulled. It returns not because you are stuck, but because you are ready to change its course. The end of a contract does not arrive quietly. It announces itself through discomfort, through reactions that reveal what has lingered too long. On the 29th of September, the collective is walking through the same initiation. Every soul is being asked the same question. Will you continue to carry the shadows of the past, or will you let them transform into wisdom? The moon event is a torch in the dark, not to expose weakness, but to show where gold has been waiting. Ancient seers describe this stage as the crossing point of the inner underworld, the place where fears are confronted, not avoided. Passing through it is not about perfection. It is about courage, about being honest enough to admit where the weight lies and brave enough to release it. This is why tears may come, why anger may rise, why silence may stretch longer than expected. Each reaction is part of the cleansing. The shadow teaches through contrast. It shows the cost of holding back, the emptiness of living through masks, the exhaustion of repeating old roles. By facing it, you break the chain. By naming it, you reclaim authority. The very emotions that seem to weigh you down become the doorway into freedom. As the 29th of September unfolds, remember this: you are not broken for carrying darkness. You are chosen to transform it. The alchemy of this time is powerful, and those who meet it with honesty will emerge clearer, stronger, and freer than before. The shadow is not the end of the story. It is the proof that you are ready for a brighter chapter. A spark has entered the collective air, moving through lives like a quiet but undeniable signal that change is no longer optional. It rises inside the body as an invitation to step into a new rhythm, one that refuses to carry the weight of the past. This turning point has been building for months, and now the call is too strong to ignore. Awakening is not a distant promise. It is happening now through conversations that strike deeper than expected, through choices that suddenly feel urgent, through emotions that no longer stay hidden. The spirit is asking for realignment, for honesty, for courage to embrace a path that matches the truth within. Every awakening begins with disruption, not as punishment but as correction. Old habits that once seemed comfortable now feel heavy. Connections that lack authenticity unravel. The soul begins pulling everything back into alignment with its higher rhythm. This is the work of spiritual electricity. It reorganizes, reshapes, redefines. Ancient traditions called this stage the rising of inner power, where hidden strength awakens like a long dormant seed, finally breaking the surface. It is the moment when individuals discover that their voice carries more weight than they imagined, and their choices ripple far beyond their own lives. Awakening is contagious. When one person steps into truth, the impact spreads through families, communities, even nations. The momentum of this season carries an almost magnetic quality. New opportunities open. Unexpected clarity arrives, and inner barriers that once seemed immovable begin to dissolve. What was tolerated in silence now demands change. The body, the heart, and the spirit move into agreement, preparing for a larger destiny. This is not gentle growth. It is transformation. And transformation never asks permission. It demands participation. It calls for courage to release illusions and step into authenticity, to trust that the unknown holds more promise than the comfort of repetition. Awakening has always been the soul's way of reminding us that we are more than the stories told to us, more than the fears we inherited, More than the roles we once played, it is a return to natural power, a remembrance of wholeness and a rebirth into clarity. Those who surrender to this energetic wave will discover the doors open faster, synchronicities multiply, and intuition sharpens. What once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable. The inner compass points true north and resistance gives way to purpose. This is the real turning point. To walk forward now is to declare that the past no longer defines the future. The awakening has already begun. It is the breath of destiny, reminding every soul that life can be lived brighter, bolder, and freer than ever imagined. A turning of seasons is never only about weather. It reshapes minds, renews paths, and awakens currents of change that no one can fully control. The collective pulse is shifting, and with it comes a call that asks each soul to recognize its part in something far larger. On 29th September, the moon event became more than an alignment in the sky. It opened a moment where timelines bend and collective choices gather momentum. This is not a small transition. It is the kind of movement that rewrites how communities connect, how nations dream, and how consciousness breathes through every layer of life. Each personal awakening is never isolated, a thought reclaimed, a wound released, a truth finally spoken. These ripple far beyond the individual. They move like currents through the shared field of humanity, reprogramming what is possible. Ancient traditions spoke of this in many ways. The weaving of destiny, the song of tribes, the wheel of karma. Today it lives as a collective awakening, a spiritual revolution that asks not only for personal courage but for unity of purpose.
The world is reorganizing itself through the choices made by countless individuals rising into clarity.
This planetary shift cannot be reduced to politics or events flashing across screens. It is deeper than headlines and louder than arguments. It is a reorientation of the invisible grids that hold societies together, an activation of truth that sweeps through culture, music, art, and even the quiet corners of daily life. People everywhere begin sensing the urgency to live authentically, to align with compassion, to resist old ways that no longer serve. This stirring is not confined to visionaries or seekers. It is spreading through families, workplaces, and communities, reshaping how people treat one another and how they imagine the future. Personal awakenings may look chaotic at first. Sudden shifts in direction, unexpected endings, intense emotional releases. But these are not random events. They are synchronizations with the greater field of planetary change. Each individual story is part of a larger chorus, a rising frequency that pushes society forward. What seems personal is in truth profoundly collective. To confront shadow is to lighten the load for countless others. To claim authenticity is to clear pathways for generations to come. The phrase planetary ascension has been spoken of for centuries, but now it carries urgency and reality. It is not about escaping life, but about elevating it, choosing to embody greater wisdom, greater compassion, and greater vision. Consciousness itself is expanding, asking every person to rise above the noise of fear and step into the clarity of truth. This is revolution not through violence but through transformation of thought and action. A shared awakening does not happen overnight. It unfolds in layers through breakthroughs that seem personal but are mirrored everywhere. One person discovers the courage to walk away from limitation, while another across the globe finds the strength to forgive. These small acts are not isolated sparks. They are interconnected lights illuminating the same path. The awakening of one feeds the awakening of all, creating momentum that no force can suppress. This moment asks for trust, not blind belief but trust in the unfolding of consciousness. Trust that every step toward authenticity strengthens the collective shift. The upheavals of daily life, changes in relationships, work, values are not accidents but alignments. They are signals that the old scaffolding is falling away, making space for new structures built on cooperation and compassion. To resist this tide is to remain tethered to stories already dissolving. To embrace it is to participate in a future that honors both individuality and unity. Planetary ascension is not about perfection. It does not ask anyone to erase flaws or pretend to be free of shadow. Instead, it calls for integration, for acknowledging wounds, learning from them, and transforming them into wisdom. The collective field thrives not on polished images but on authenticity. Each truth spoken, each wound healed, each step taken in courage strengthens the entire human family. The momentum of this season is unmistakable. Something larger than tradition, larger than culture is rising. Those who are awake can already sense the rhythm of it. The way synchronicities multiply, the way compassion suddenly feels essential, the way truth becomes impossible to ignore. This is the mark of planetary ascension. Not an escape, but a deeper arrival into purpose. The task now is to live as a bridge between the personal and the collective. To remember that every shift within the self is also a gift to the whole. To stand as living proof that consciousness evolves not through force but through choice. And to know that the revolution already underway cannot be reversed. It has begun and it will only grow stronger. Momentum continues to build. And with it comes a greater invitation to see oneself not as separate from the whole, but as an active contributor to the unfolding of this age. Every act of courage, every release of fear, every embrace of truth radiates outward. The collective shift is not carried by leaders alone, nor by movements with banners and slogans. It is woven by millions of ordinary souls choosing to awaken, choosing to embody higher consciousness in daily life. As the timeline expands, humanity is stepping into a new frequency of awareness. Old agreements that kept people bound to fear or silence are dissolving. The contracts written at the level of the soul, the lessons chosen before entering this life are now surfacing for completion. Karmic stories that stretched across generations reach their closing chapters, and with them comes freedom to write anew. This is not punishment. It is liberation. The moment where weight carried too long is finally set down. On the 29th of September, the moon event symbolized this breaking of chains. Not through spectacle, but through subtle pivots in perception, in courage, and choice. Each individual who steps forward into clarity strengthens the grid of awakening that encircles the world. The personal merges with the planetary, the inner journey with the collective timeline, creating a symphony of ascension that grows louder by the day. It may appear as though confusion dominates. That division and fear still hold sway, yet beneath the noise something steady is forming, a shared recognition that humanity cannot move forward in separation. Consciousness itself demands cooperation, demands compassion, demands truth. This revolution is not waged with weapons but with authenticity. It asks for eyes to open, for voices to speak, for hearts to align with integrity. Each moment of awakening is a contribution to this revolution. Choosing love where fear once ruled, choosing truth where silence once held power, choosing connection where division was taught. These choices ignite the collective field. What happens in one heart does not stay there. It reverberates outward, shifting the collective atmosphere until even those who resist are eventually touched by its frequency. Planetary ascension is not a distant dream. It is unfolding now. You see it in the crumbling of systems that no longer serve. You see it in the rise of voices once silenced. You see it in the hunger for authenticity spreading across every corner of society. This is the proof of transformation. Not perfection, not instant harmony, but undeniable momentum toward a new way of being. And yet this moment also demands courage. It requires letting go of illusions that once felt safe, of attachments that kept power hidden, of stories that no longer serve the collective good. To awaken is to release the familiar, and to trust the deeper rhythm of consciousness guiding all forward. Those who resist will find the ground shifting beneath them. Those who embrace will discover strength they did not know they carried. The revolution of consciousness is unstoppable. It is written into the very fabric of this time. Each awakening, each act of truth, each breakthrough contributes to a collective surge that will define generations to come. The children born into this era will inherit a world shaped by these choices, a field cleansed of the heaviest karmic entanglements, a timeline already bending toward unity. 29th of September marked a turning of the page not just in personal lives but in the book of collective awakening. It is a reminder that every moment matters, every action carries weight, every step taken in awareness ripples outward to touch countless others. To live consciously now is to become part of something vast, something uncontainable, something destined to reshape the human story. The call is not abstract. It asks for action, for embodiment, for courage lived daily. Speak truth even when it trembles in your voice. Choose compassion even when anger tempts. Stand in authenticity even when compromise seems easier. Each of these choices is an offering to the collective field, a seed planted in the soil of planetary ascension. What once seemed impossible is now within reach. The revolution of consciousness is not a faraway promise. It is unfolding in real time through you, through countless others, through the weaving of lives across the planet. This is the great shift, the collective awakening, the ascension long foretold. It cannot be stopped. It can only be lived, embraced, embodied. And so the call continues. Rise into authenticity. Live as proof that consciousness transforms everything it touches. And trust that the revolution already underway is leading not toward destruction, but toward renewal. The dawn has begun and it grows brighter with every awakened soul. The time we are stepping into calls for clarity and strength. Old instructions for living no longer apply. New pathways must be discovered through presence, discipline, and inner trust. Traditions across ages remind us that transformation is not only about revelation, but also about practice. Hermetic teachings speak of balance, holding opposites without losing one's center. Vedic wisdom calls it steadiness, the art of remaining anchored while the winds of change move all around. Indigenous voices remind us that every step taken in truth keeps the future clean for those who follow. These echoes are not fragments of history. They are tools for this moment. Since the moon of 29th of September illuminated what has been hidden, guidance now turns toward action. Words alone cannot carry the shift. It must be lived through choices made each day. The first teaching is presence, meeting the hour without running from it, standing inside one's own rhythm, no matter the noise outside. The second teaching is offering. Release what no longer belongs, not through resistance but by gifting it back to the greater field. Old doubts, worn-out fears, unnecessary ties, hand them over as one would return a stone to the river. In return, life offers renewal, space to breathe, and strength to carry forward. The path continues by walking with awareness, honoring both the unseen threads of destiny and the immediate steps beneath the feet. The days following this passage are not meant to be rushed. Transformation deepens when it is lived slowly, when each action reflects the truths that have been uncovered. Hermetic thought reminds us that what is above is echoed below, and what is within will always be mirrored without. Vedic sages would say that harmony arises not from chasing perfection, but from aligning with natural order. Indigenous wisdom shows us that walking in respect, whether toward another soul or the land beneath, sustains the balance for generations ahead. These are not distant teachings. They are instructions for the heart. Right now, since the threshold of 29th of September, the call has been to walk forward differently. Every encounter becomes a test of authenticity. Do the words match the inner knowing? Do the actions honor the spirit's truth? Strength is not found in domination, but in consistency. Another step of guidance is stillness, not an activity, but a steady space where the noise of the world cannot enter. From this stillness, discernment grows, and from discernment, courage. Renewal flows into those who choose truth over convenience, depth over distraction. The journey ahead belongs to those who refuse to betray themselves. In that choice, the seeds of lasting change are planted, and from those seeds, an entirely new path rises. The closing of today's message carries a note of urgency wrapped with promise. The rare moon event of the 29th of September is not a distant sign. It has already shifted the rhythm of life, opening a passage that only a few will truly recognize. Those who do are asked to step with clarity, to walk as keepers of light in a time where illusions are breaking apart. Every word shared here was meant to reach you at this exact moment. Nothing has been random about your path leading to these truths. The trials, the tests, the sudden revelations, they have all been preparing the spirit for the threshold that is now at hand. The blessing hidden in these challenges is renewal. Renewal of strength, renewal of direction, renewal of the trust that the universe has never abandoned you. The call to action is simple but powerful. Type in the comments, "I walk in truth and ready for this event." This phrase is more than letters. It is a declaration, a signal that you are ready to align with what is real and refuse what is false. And do not hold this wisdom alone. Share this message with someone whose soul is searching, someone standing at the edge of awakening. Passing it forward is part of the blessing. For the change ahead is never walked in isolation. Stand tall in this moment knowing you are supported. The rare moon has opened a path, and now it is time to step fully into it. The journey is calling, and the strength to answer is already within.